Thanks so much for that intro. It's crazy to think that 5 years ago I was a student and part of the DSAB planning this event. Last year I got to speak at it, and this year I get to MC it for you guys and introduce you to all these amazing speakers. So to kick things off, we have Tim Carl. In his over 30 years of practice, Tim has built a reputation for responsive design based on a deep understanding of the clients and communities he serves. He was named one of the nation's top emerging architects by Progressive Architecture in 1993 and joined HGA as a design principal in 1997. His recent projects include the Ordway Center for Performing Arts, Concert Hall, Northrop Auditorium renovation, and the American Swedish Institute's Nelson Cultural Center. The Minneapolis Star-Tribune identified Tim as one of Minnesota's most influential architects in 2013 and 2014. And HGA named him Chief Executive Officer in 2015. Take it away, Tim.
In the early 2000s, oh good, this started off well. I was watching the movie Fargo with my father, and as William Macy's character, Jerry Lundegaard, tried to sell the True Coat car sealant, my father, who was a car salesman, took a moment to tell me that he was not that car salesman. He really said this by being honest. He explained he received referrals and he often could sell a client a second and a third car. Flash forward to 2009, I'm having lunch with the head of the music department at Texas A&M, who is my client on the new School of Music you see here. Over lunch, I tell him that my father was a car salesman, and he says to me, I quote, "I see the apple did not fall far from the tree." While trying not to choke on my drink, I said, "What? What did I sell you?" Two things, he replied, creativity, and it felt like you would listen to us more than your competitors. What I sold him on, what is core to my work and core to the organization that I work for, are really these two values, curiosity and empathy. And what I'd like to sell you today, and it's really only today, after today I can't guarantee it, is the impact that these values can have at three scales. The scale of a project, the scale of an organization, and the scale of a profession. And we're going to start with a project. When the St. Paul Chamber Orchestra's new hall opened in 2015, it was, thank God, embraced by both the musicians and the audience for both its physical and its acoustical beauty. And as you look at this image, what I want you to know is that every single square inch, every surface is designed to reflect sound back in very technical ways to both the musicians and to the audience. And the only way, I wish I could dive into the story, to achieve that is through a seamlessly integrated team of architects and acousticians and theater designers, lighting designers, engineers, interior designers. We were curious and we were empathetic to the experience of chamber music. At the end of the first rehearsal, I received a hug, literally a hug, from Kyu Young Kim, who you see here. He's principal second violin. And he was overwhelmed by the fact that he was hearing notes he could never hear before and feeling closer to the audience than he had ever felt before. Moving to the scale of an organization, this is me. We have learned at HGA that our curiosity and our empathy have to be fueled by research. So this is me with virtual reality goggles and a bodysuit that really transforms me into someone at an even more advanced age, believe it or not, suffering from, now let's be serious, suffering from macular degeneration and muscular deterioration. If you look at this image, this is what I was seeing through the goggles. On the left was with normal vision, on the right is with macular degeneration. This was an incredibly emotional experience to feel this condition, and it's changing the way we design. Over the last 10 years, we have integrated into our practice full-time researchers, process engineers, data and technology specialists. We have an anthropologist to help us both literally and virtually put ourselves in the mindsets of those that we serve. We recently won a national competition to design a new hospital. where the ideas for the patient rooms, which you see here, the ideas for places for respite, the ideas for the configuration of the tower itself, were all based on years, literally years of research into patient experience. My last and final scale is that of my profession, and that is architecture. So this is specific to architecture, where I believe that curiosity and empathy have to be supported by equity. This is me. My 15-year-old's not here. He hates my Bitmoji. This is me at a conference last fall with 34 other CEOs of large architecture and engineering firms, where we were listening to the architecture department chair at Hampton University. This is one of 11 historically black colleges and universities with architecture programs. And he was speaking to us about the lack of racial diversity in our profession. And it was an emotional presentation because he was speaking to 32 of the 35. I'm not joking, look just like me. You can joke about architects all looking the same. We have a woman who leads this group who's amazing, and we have 2 other women. But this is the group he was talking to, and he was telling us that in the late 1970s, 2% of registered architects, 2% of registered architects in the United States were African American. And today that number is 2%. If we do not address the gap in resources, in opportunity, and access between white men, women, and people of color, our profession will not thrive. And that's the biggest point I want to make today. The work begins with a foundational understanding of the difference between diversity and equity, and how our systems within our society, both consciously and probably more importantly unconsciously, maintain this gap. Our firm is just beginning. We have had intensive equity training for leadership beginning in 2017. We're starting our second phase of training and designing a 2 to 3 year plan to be a 21st century leader in equity. It's a lot of hard work, but we're excited about it. And with that, as you look at a photo of my parents at an awards banquet in 1972, where my father was being honored as Salesman of the Year in all of Michigan and Indiana, it was a big deal. I hope I've sold you on, or at least intrigued you on the transformative impact of these 2 values. Thank you.